Hi there. Today I'm going to walk through the Corti console and showcase a lot of our capabilities that we explore within the AI Studio and hopefully start to show you how all of these different pieces connect together and how these can be used to really build your own application utilizing a lot of these capabilities. So I'm going to go quite quickly, but I'm making a video so that we can kind of go back and revisit that. So what is often the first and foremost jumping in point for folks when they want to jump into the console and test some of our capabilities. A lot of people just want to make sure that the speech to text works, right? That we have a high grade, dictation grade speech to text model that is actually fueling a lot of what's taking these words that I'm speaking, right, and putting them on the page as we see that. As you can see, I opened up that WebSocket by clicking that button there. And in relative real time, what I'm seeing on my screen is the words start to appear exactly as I'm saying those. What I'll illustrate over here along the side is there's a lot of different capabilities that we make available within the actual configuration, and what we've done is visualize those within the console. So if you wanted to allow for things such as spoken punctuation because you're building more of a dictation tool, we've got that. If you want to show interim results, so what you were seeing when I first started speaking is that text was a little bit grayer than what it was before. Effectively what that's saying is that is the interim results of what I've said, and as we get enough of a context window to be more certain as far as what I've said, it'll turn a bit of a darker white color, which that kind of cancels each other out. But that's our speech to text, right? And so utilizing that speech to text, you can then start to either extract facts. And so I'm not going to take that garbage that I was just saying. I've got a lovely medical script that I've saved off to my clipboard here that I can go ahead and paste, and we can use this as a proxy for a transcript of a medical consultation or of a dictation. And I can go ahead and extract those facts in real time, right? So this is a bit more asynchronous, I guess, than what our streaming endpoint does. But you can see not only the facts, right, that this is a medical consultation that is very specific to a left distal tibial shaft fracture, where we also get into some more elements of past medical history of hypertension, of type 2 diabetes, of hyperlipidemia. So I made sure that I kind of added a lot more medical context to this, which we'll see in a minute. We can see that get extracted, and we can see those facts being classified as part of specific fact groups. We can use these facts as context for our text generation, so to generate an actual note, or I can use that same transcript in an unformatted, like string format as we're seeing right now, jumping in, and what I can do is choose the appropriate note template that I want to use, and that can also be used later, right? So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to select the H&P note. The reason I'm doing so is this H&P note allows for a lot more context for maybe some of my other downstream actions that I want to be doing there. And so obviously those will require a bit more context versus something that may be a bit more brief in nature. And so that's always something that I'm considering when I'm building these types of applications, is making sure that I'm supplying the appropriate context for anything that's happening downstream. In this case, I only want to use the note, so I'm going to use a quite verbose note for this purpose. So I'll choose my H&P, I'll supply it with this string that is my actual transcript. And again, what we'll see in relative real time is utilizing this transcript as context, as input, and nothing else, right? I'm not pulling anything else in from the chart or anything. I can see that, again, we're able to present an H&P note that's documenting that chief complaint as a left distal tibial fracture. We can see that past medical history that we also saw before, the hypertension, the diabetes, the hyperlipidemia, are also documented within that past medical history. And then what I can do is start to take that and use that as context for other actions in my workflow. So say I want to actually code this. I can use this as my clinical text to generate ICD-10 outpatient codes. And so that's the code base that I'm using for this prediction, right? We have a lot more, but for this, for the purposes of this, I'm calling back to my old days as navigating ICD-9 to ICD-10 migrations. And so we'll go ahead and just use this to kind of go back to the old days, and I will use this note again as context to predict codes. And so what I'm expecting to see is those codes start to spit out again in quite quick time frame that is specifically coding not just that fracture, but maybe some of those other problems that we were discussing previously as part of that problem list that could be relevant for this consultation, or maybe not, but it's something that we want to maybe just be able to consider. I'm talking a lot. I'm almost done. The last piece is we also have agents. This is a lot more free form, and you get to define exactly what you want from your agent, which is so cool. What I've done just a minute before this is I have created a problem list and a kind of a medication list extraction tool. And so in my kind of fake scenario that we're talking through here, this problem list and medication list extraction tool could be an agent that we use to extract into a regulated format that we then feed to other downstream systems if we need to report problem list or medication list. Realistically, I don't know exactly how often folks do that, but bear with me on this. So what you can see is within my system prompt, I have specified this is what I'm wanting it to extract. It's those diagnoses for the problem list as well as those medications. I want it to return a JSON. I'm specifying the exact JSON format lower in here. So I want to be able to see what's the, where are we getting that kind of source from? What's the context, as well as, is it problem list? Is it medication? What's the name? What's the coding system? What is the actual code? And I'm calling in some experts here, right? So I'm also calling in our coding expert and a few different experts on the side here. So same note, promise I'm almost done here. Let's go ahead and use that as context. I will use that, feed that into my expert. And what we'll see is that agent's thinking. It's calling out to our various experts that I've integrated into my actual agent itself. And what I'm expecting to see here in a couple seconds is an output in JSON format that is extracting all of those things, not just in kind of text form, but also in more of that normalized form in the form of ICD-10 codes, as well as RX norm codes for the purposes of that med list extraction there. So while that's working, what I will also highlight is on this code side. Well, there we go. Of course, as I start talking about it, it's going to start showing up. So exactly what we thought we would see, right? So we're seeing that we've got an entity type of problem list that we're seeing that left distal tibial fracture and the normalized name of that diagnosis. If we keep scrolling a little bit further down, we're also going to see some of those medications that were present within my note as well as within my transcript. So what I can then do with this is extract this medication list. I can feed those kind of RX norm codes over to downstream systems to be able to normalize a lot more of that language without having to do a lot of these kind of like very complex lookup processes. I can utilize a lot of these experts there. So hopefully that gives you a lot of context for what you can build and how to visualize some of these solutions you can build within the console itself and start to stack a lot of these capabilities. Last thing, and then I promise I'm done. Once you have those things tuned well, especially if we're talking agents, we give you the code. So you can then copy paste that, and that becomes what you can utilize to call that agent via the Corti API. So that becomes very much part of your system quite quickly. That is all I've got. Thank you so very much for going on this journey with me, and hopefully that was helpful to be able to walk through exactly how you can stack a lot of these capabilities within the console itself.